So, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. Again, I am Paul Morrow here in the ops desk. And today we're very fortunate to have a really unique guest. We have Judge Pat Dugan, who is running against one of the real villains of the ops desk, and that is Larry Krasner, the district attorney of Philadelphia. And frankly, this guy makes Alvin Bragg look like Elliot Ness. I mean, he really is a sort of a thing unto himself. And I'm going to let Pat tease that out. But first of all, Judge, welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me. Proud to be on here to talk to people. So thank you for, putting the spotlight on Mr. Krasner.
Well, we have to. We talk a lot of smack here, and we talk about how this stuff has to change. And if we don't support people like you who are trying to make change, then what are we doing here? So I want to go right to it here, first of all. Krasner is notorious in the circles that I run in, people that are concerned about criminal justice, that are trying to get us back to a safe place that we seem to have decided isn't worth pursuing. What do you consider, let's do policy, what do you consider to be the things that he has instituted among those that just absolutely have to be changed first, were you to take his office?
He has pretty much instituted a practice of not prosecuting. Now, I know people are like, you're exaggerating. No, I'm not. The first month he became the district attorney, he made retail theft basically legal. Anything below $500 became a ticketable offense. Repeat offenders who should not have had a gun, felons, convicted felons, caught with guns, he would just give them a pass. This was a cause for a huge spike in crime in the city of Philadelphia for the past 8 years. His policies of not training his DAs. That's another one that people don't believe me. Larry Krasner's policy when he gets a new batch of DAs, his speech is this: you are now a public defender with a budget. These are attorneys telling us on the side that this is what Krasner's told them. Brand new DAs who are in preliminary hearing rooms for violent criminals don't know what they're doing, and Krasner's doing this on purpose. More than 70% of the cases, not a lot are filed anymore, but over 70% of them are withdrawn by Larry Krasner's office on purpose. Therefore, violent criminals get a pass on illegal guns, VUFAs, carjackings, shootings. This has to stop. He doesn't want to prosecute. He coddles criminals.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me that he has gotten real. I remember the last election, I was like, oh, there's got to be an uprising here against this guy. It just never happens. So I got to ask you the obvious questions before we tease out, who's working for this guy and wants to stay working for him. How is it that the population in Philadelphia hasn't launched him?
So, and I know this is usual outcry about media coverage. Larry Krasner is a master at media relations. So he has his press conferences all the time. Very little pushback, but every once in a while a reporter will push him a little bit on some of these cases. And then he spins it. He's got a very good public relations team. They spin it. We are basically a one-paper town, the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Right.
And that's pretty much it. So his last spin, no matter who else gives the other side, is what carries the day. There's no follow-up anymore. So he's on TV every day. He lies directly to the camera. This man lies to judges in court. Judges after judge finds that he lacks integrity. They say this stuff on the record, yet it doesn't get enough coverage. It'll get a one-day headline and then it's gone. No one is doing that cumulative of this federal judge said he's a liar. This Court of Common Pleas judge said he's a liar. This municipal court, this Supreme Court, they all call him out as a liar. On the record, he gets fined $120,000 from a judge, $4,000 from the ethics board, $40,000 from the ethics board. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know why people continue to vote for Larry Krasner.
It is amazing. Now, I got to ask you, as a former judge, did he ever appear in front of you?
Larry Krasner did appear in front of me prior to him being a district attorney. And it was always civil rights cases. It was always demonstrators and things like that. And he put his cases up as if he was in the Supreme Court. He had some success in front of me, but at times he didn't have, his clients were found guilty. But He had some success based off of some of his constitutional arguments, and that's fine. But now the fox is in the hen house. This man who doesn't want to be a prosecutor is he's in charge of the district attorney's office, and he said, I don't want to put anybody in jail. He coddles criminals. There was actually a documentary. It's called 72 Seconds, involving a murder in Rittenhouse Square in a rich part of our city. And there's in that documentary, Larry Krasner is in his office, in his conference room, basically giving legal advice to the man who was accused of the murder. I almost vomited. So he is definitely not on the side of the victims or the rule of law.
Was he a former defense attorney? Is that where was he a public defender?
He had been a public defender, and he was a
Right.
civil rights attorney and a criminal defense attorney. Yeah, he was never a prosecutor. And no, in fact, most of the people he hired in his office were either brand new or they were former public defenders that he brought into his office. He pretty much turned that whole office upside down, fired 31 seasoned prosecutors on day one, lost a lot of institutional knowledge, pretty much deleted the computer that they would keep all the records on, lessons learned, advice to new attorneys. He deleted that stuff. So he tried not very he tried deliberately to ruin the office, and he's been doing it for 8 years.
So, did he take Soros money, by the way? Did he get Soros money in running?
So that's how he won the first time.
Right. That's my
There were
recollection.
5, 6, 7 candidates, and Soros jumped in and gave him $2 million. So
Right.
he was able to win with 30-some%. And then the last election, being the incumbent in a city like Philadelphia, there wasn't much of a competition against him, so he was able to prevail once again. So I'm not sure that Soros money comes directly to him anymore. He's involved with something called the Ren Collective. I think there's stuff that comes to him that he doesn't report
Right.
because he's done it twice before where he was fined in violation. He was found in violation of the campaign finance laws in Philadelphia.
Hmm.
So God knows what this man's doing. Supposed to be the chief law enforcement officer in the city of Philadelphia, but ethics, I don't think he even knows how to spell it.
So I then have to go up the chain here, before we get to the impact of all of this on Philadelphia itself. Normally, when you have a situation like this, the stopgap, the safeguard, is supposed to be at the state level. Now, look, Josh Shapiro, yes, he's a Democrat, but he's far more moderate than Krasner is. And you would like to think that cooler heads would prevail. Somebody would look at this guy and say, we got to do something. Now, my understanding is at least they did one thing, which is they took the scepter out from under that is under Krasner. That is to say, the adjudication of crimes, the prosecution of crimes that occur on the transit system, they took away from Krasner because he's just been so disinterested. Am I wrong?
You're spot on. So yes, Pennsylvania had to come up and appoint a special prosecutor. They had to pass a law so that they could appoint somebody to prosecute crime on SEPTA. Larry Krasner pretty much stopped prosecuting people who would assault bus drivers. Now the
Hmm.
Transportation Workers Union came to me, sought me out, and said, "Hey, Judge, we want to back you because we have a laundry list of bus drivers and SEPTA employees who've been assaulted, but Krasner does not let these victims know when the next court date is. These cases fall apart. Krasner's doing it on purpose." So yes, we have a special prosecutor for crimes on SEPTA, which is a big part of Philadelphia. It's ludicrous. If somehow I can win this election, we're not going to need that prosecutor because Pat Dugan's going to handle that. And as far as like SEPTA, can you actually believe our first responders are in a similar situation? The EMTs and the firefighters came to me and said, "We want to endorse you." Well, first of all, my grandfather's line of duty fire death from the 1940s, but
Wow.
they came to me because our EMTs are assaulted, and Krasner refuses to prosecute those people who assault the EMTs. Now, our first responders don't get support from the district attorney of Philadelphia. This you if you wrote this script for a movie, people would say it's not believable. Y-
So SEPTA also includes the trains, correct?
Yes, the subways, the elevated trains, the trolley cars, the buses, the platforms. We have miles of underground concourses that
Right.
People get assaulted, kids coming home from school, they get in these fights, they push each other down on the tracks, and Krasner refuses to prosecute them. I'm sorry that I'm laughing, but what else can I do? I can't get physical. I'm a lifelong Philadelphian. I'm a gritty guy from this city. Grew up, riding the L, playing wire ball, stick ball. I'm a paratrooper. 23 years in the military. Iraq, Afghanistan. I was in a recon platoon with the 82nd Airborne Division. So, I got a little bit of that in me, but I have to maintain my cool I was a judge. Now I'm running for DA, but come on. This is ludicrous what's going on in our city. It
So
really is.
let's go to the impact on Philadelphia. I know that the police morale is just really, really abysmal. Are they able to retain officers? Is it like New York where we have a retention and recruitment problem now?
Oh, we have a terrible issue with recruitment and retention. We're short over 1,000 officers right now.
Wow.
We're blessed, to be honest with you. We have pretty good leadership right now in the Philadelphia Police Department. Kevin
Yeah.
Bethel,
Yeah.
he was involved with the school police. He's back. He's got a forward thinking method of how we should be policing. Him and the mayor are working pretty good. Recently, the mayor and Commissioner Bethel, they were involved with the feds who came in and did a raid in the Kensington section of
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
I saw it. Made national news. Yeah, I saw it.
Yes. And so it was a cooperation between our police department and the feds, and
Yeah.
it was a success. The
Yeah.
person who wasn't at that press conference was our DA because he had
Wow.
nothing to do with it because he's let crime run rampant in Kensington for the last 8 years. Nobody should be arrested in Kensington, the epicenter of the drug trade. All those
Yeah. It was
violent
the
crimes
big.
and drugs.
It was the biggest. My understanding is they characterized it as one of the, if not the biggest, urban drug raid ever in American history. And the district attorney is not there. And I'm going to tell you something else, and I'm sure you noticed, Judge, that they almost certainly kept his office out of it because they didn't trust him not to leak it. I've been involved in these things where we said to ourselves, you know what? Let's bring this to the DA at the last second, or if it's federal, let's not tell the DA's office at all because we've grown not to trust them. How can you do criminal justice enforcement when the prosecutor cannot be trusted to leak to the perps? Because that doesn't mean Krasner picks up the phone and calls the bad guys, but it means as it goes attenuated, as it goes down the chain, some DA who's got a girlfriend, who's got a boyfriend, who's got somebody, the assistant knows somebody who knows somebody. Next thing you know, they all know you're coming and they're waiting for you, or obviously they're in the wind. What is the impact on the ground in Philadelphia? Now, obviously the criminal justice system itself has been really, really undermined. What do Philadelphians see in their city? I haven't been there in a while. I used to go down to do cases when I was working with the PD, but I haven't been down there in a while now. And I have to ask, is it like Baltimore where you drive through or you go through on the Acela, on the Acela corridor on the Amtrak, and you see all these buildings that are all boarded up? It looks like Gaza. And how is the situation on the ground in Philly?
So we still have a ton of issues. We have some neighborhoods in the city of Philadelphia, like a neighborhood called Tioga Nicetown, that is actually 417% more dangerous than the average neighborhood in America, and that's by a real estate service
Huh.
that looks at the statistics. Strawberry Mansion, another neighborhood in our city, 380% more dangerous. So yes, we have issues with retaining businesses and whatnot. And Larry Krasner's policies, and again, these are his policies alone. And as the chief law enforcement officer, he affects everybody else. We have Wawa. Philadelphia loves Wawa. Wawa invested $100 million in Center City, Philadelphia, with 10 stores. 9 of them have shut down because of the retail theft and the safety of their employees. So, no, we're losing a huge tax base because of things like this. Macy's was in our old Wanamaker's building, the cornerstone of Center City's retail industry. They shut down. You know why they shut down? Because of hundreds of retail thefts and the murder of one of their security guards when a man came in and was taking stuff, stopped by a security officer. He was not apprehended because we don't apprehend retail thefts anymore. We don't take them into custody. That guy left, but he was so mad that this guy actually
Came
stopped him.
back.
He
Yeah.
came back 15 minutes and stabbed him to death.
Yeah.
Macy's is now shut down. So this has effect on everything that happens in our city. The stuff that Krasner's doing, I don't understand what's going on in our city. I always say, are we going to fail our IQ test as voters once again in Philadelphia? I'm hoping we don't.
It's amazing, and it's suicidal. It reminds me of what we see going on in Oakland. That's the Philadelphia of the West Coast. All the same stuff. All the businesses are leaving. All the people on the street saying we can't understand what's going on, but yet the same people, either a facsimile thereof or literally the same person, keeps winning. Now in Oakland, they finally got to the point they said we got to get rid of the mayor, we got to get rid of the DA. Let's hope we're hitting that point with Krasner here in Philly, because the policies are just suicidal. So I got to go to a couple of salient cases here, because you and I both know, Judge, working in criminal justice, any one case doesn't, capture everything, but there are certain cases that sort of capture the dynamic. And Krasner has had a couple here that I think in the national mind stand for what's gone on there and how dysfunctional things have gotten. And one of them you've spoken about, which is the Ellen Greenberg case. You've said that you're going to look at that case. As somebody who's embedded in these issues, I've been out to, some true crime things and stuff. People know about this case and do not feel satisfied with it. Krasner recused himself under murky circumstances. What's your take on that case? Would you reopen it? What do you see happening?
So, what I will do if I can win this election is I will review that case from top to bottom. I will sit down with seasoned homicide prosecutors and detectives and review the file from the Philadelphia District Attorney's Office. The Pennsylvania Attorney General looked at it for a minute. The Chester County District Attorney's Office looked at it. Obviously, the autopsy reports. There was a recent, motion and opinion inside a courtroom in terms of the cause of death, suicide, etc. I want to review all that and sit down and make a determination. I don't want to say I'm going to reopen it, because I want to make sure I'm doing my job as the prosecutor to review it as best that I can. I can tell you, though, that I've talked to a homicide prosecutor and a homicide detective who did have eyeballs on this. They weren't the ones who made the ultimate decision. And they said, yeah, Judge, you better look at this case when you take this over. And that's what I pledged to do to the family, to the Greenbergs. Ellen deserves it, and I plan on looking at it. I mean, I'm a little, this stuff about Larry Krasner actually represented the Greenbergs at one point. And now the
Mm.
Greenbergs are saying Larry hasn't turned over his file to the family. Well, you're an attorney. You understand about, who owns the work product.
The work
Well,
product, right?
you know what? Some of that certainly needs to go to your client. So that's something else that somebody independently should have a sit down with Krasner, review that file and see. Most of that probably should go to that family. So, and his ethics are so bad, I don't believe anything that comes out of his mouth pertaining to any case, including the Greenberg. So yes, I will review it and make that determination whether or not it should be reopened.
I don't like, and just to be clear, I generally don't like these. You know what? The case is 30 years old. We're going to reopen it, because it always becomes a fait accompli. They open it, they realize if they double tap it and say, yeah, they made the right call 30 years ago, then nobody gains, in career wise. And so when they reopen these things, they almost always go the other way. And so I tend to be very skeptical of those things. But this case stinks to high heaven. And I got to tell you, I don't see how it's possible, if that coroner report is accurate, that she could have stabbed herself from behind. We don't have to get deep into the forensics, but the murkiness of it, that it gets down to the point where the ME/coroner says it is a homicide. Then there's this mysterious meeting with apparently some police personnel and DA personnel, but there's no minutes from the meeting. Everybody says they don't recall the meeting now, but it did happen. That's where the ME apparently changes his ruling, and then he hightails it to Florida. Then Krasner recuses himself. Then Shapiro catches the case as the AG. It sits there for 2 years. Then Shapiro recuses himself after 2 years. The whole thing is just, I got to use a New Yorkism, it's fugazi. And you got to say to yourself, like, at some point, common sense has to prevail. Look at this thing and say, even if all you do is recategorize it as a homicide and then start investigating it. I got to ask you this before we move on from that case, because I want to talk about the second case, but I got to ask you this. When something like this happens, all the conspiracy theories start. And obviously, here, and I don't want to say any names or anything like that, but there are theories as to why this case was, in police parlance, shit canned a bit, right? They looked to get rid of it for whatever reason. Have you heard anything like that? Have you heard any theories? We're theorizing and speculating now. I understand that. But have you heard anything that has any meat on the bone relative to why the case went the way it did?
I have not, other than through the public speculation that's out there. And again, I think as the prosecutor, I need to get in, look at the evidence, look at what's actually out there to make my determination. So I'm trying to avoid all the speculation. I saw the documentary, I've
Right.
read some articles. That's pretty much my knowledge in this case, but it's certainly enough to make me realize, damn it, I need to take a look at this because of all, as you said, the murkiness out there. To me, it's a black eye to the city of Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I can say that Pat Dugan right here, I really don't have political ambitions. I retired as a judge because I was so frustrated by Larry Krasner's policies. I'm not looking to be the governor or a congressman. I want Krasner gone. I want to fix that office. So I'm not looking for to do anything else in my career. So there's nobody I'm going to owe a damn thing to. And nobody's ever been able to come to me and question my ethics. So I will look at this thing and I will follow the evidence.
That alone is a big, big selling point because the fact that you're not going to be owned by other people here with no other motivations other than cleaning up what is a city that, like so many in our country these days, are on the slide. So I want to go to the second case, which is the Kata Scott case. Now, look, I think even more than the Ellen Greenberg case, I think strikes people in the heart as an injustice. But the Kata Scott case, which is much more recent, I think strikes people as much more emblematic of the failures of Larry Krasner. So nobody knows it better than you. I'm going to let you tease it out for the audience because a lot of people won't know about it, but this is a horrific case. So tell us about it.
Yeah, so Kata Scott is a 23-year-old woman, cheerleader at Penn State, just a beautiful young lady with a full life ahead of her, who was snuffed out allegedly by this Keon King. So Keon King has been charged with murder and kidnapping. It took a couple weeks for her body to be found, but Keon King is a man who was in the crosshairs of the district attorney months ago for, believe it or not, a couple other kidnappings and assault on different women. So he got arrested last year. He's in court early this year, and the district attorneys, and I said he doesn't train his DAs. So it's at the preliminary hearing level, pretty basic level. And Krasner's attorneys did not know how to put the case up. The victim in that previous case did not show up to court, despite the prosecutor having video evidence from that victim. They did not put the case up. They withdrew the case.
Oh, my God.
They withdrew it. Like I said before, over a 70% withdrawal rate because they just don't want to do these cases. Now, one of the other things that occurred in this case is that while standing in court, the prosecutor did not alert the court that Mr. Keon King had a new arrest warrant on him while he was standing in court. Did not alert the sheriffs, did not alert the police department, nor the judge. So Keon King, with an active arrest warrant on him, walked out of court
What was that warrant for?
for another kidnapping, for another
Un-
assault on a woman.
People don't realize kidnapping, at least under New York law, is an A1 felony. It's a hair below murder. So I mean, I can't
Yes.
believe that they would let him go. Anyway, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry.
So Krasner likes to come out and talk about cash bail. That's the enemy of the criminal justice
Yeah,
system.
he
So
racializes everything. Meanwhile, the victim in this case is black. But anyway, go ahead.
yes. So he's blaming the judges on this guy having bail. Well, the bail was set at $200,000, 10%. He was able to go ahead and post that. So he's saying the judges, we didn't appeal that bail decision because the judges don't like to be awakened at 3 o'clock in the morning. Krasner's always pulls that line. I was the president judge. He used to tell me that. And I would say, Larry, which judge gave you a hard time or your attorneys a hard time? What case? What's the name of the judge? I'll deal with them. I'm still waiting for him to give me those names.
Yeah,
But
he
at a
won't get it.
press
Yeah.
conference last 2 weeks ago, he said, judges, we didn't appeal it because they get mad in the middle of the night. Every bail hearing for Keon King was during the day. He flat out lied. He's been caught in another lie. And you can appeal the magistrate's decision 24/7. You just pick up the phone in that courtroom and you dial up another judge.
Mm.
If you don't like that judge's decision, you can go to the Court of Common Pleas in a 24/7 and appeal there. You can come into municipal court. We have early bail review, and then you can appeal it to Superior Court and the Supreme Court. So there's 7 or 8 chances to appeal. Larry Krasner's policy is he does not appeal bail decisions. He just blames the system. So it's he also this is hard to believe too. He doesn't provide a new attorney, a mentor, or generally speaking, a supervisor. So a
Right.
brand new attorney comes in, doesn't know what he's doing.
Sink or swim.
Yes, and they sink all the time.
Yeah.
And so after your long day in a courtroom, you go back to the office. They used to have a policy you would do after action reports. Hey, should we refile this case? Should you appeal this? All that good stuff. They don't do that anymore. It's a matter of policy. They stopped doing it. He's doing this stuff on purpose. So this guy, Keon King, these cases go away, and then he grabs this Kata Scott and he kills her. And I like to say, so the headline in the Inquirer was Kata Scott's case falls through the cracks. Well, that line doesn't fit
Right.
because there was a case like this a couple years previous, a woman by the name of Gladys Coriano. And during the state tried to impeach Larry Krasner. They actually did impeach him, but the time ran out. But so this Gladys' son was testifying, and they called that case, it fell through the cracks again. And her son testified saying it wasn't a crack in the system. This is a trap door that was made by Larry Krasner.
Yeah.
And that's a fact. We have countless victims who continue to be preyed upon because Krasner will not prosecute or put hardened violent criminals away by policy.
I gotta ask the following now. You got a career kidnapper. You got him in court. All right, the Vic isn't there. You know, somebody dropped the ball there because you got an A felony, a kidnapping. You get that victim there if you need that victim. And if you got to send people out, you get the cops will always be wondering about you.
Yes.
Go, oh, buy you dinner, whatever you need. We'll pick you up in the car at 8 a.m. Don't worry about it. We'll drop you off at home. But all right, fair enough. The victim crapped out on them. But you know what? They had the video. Now you go in. Now you twig to the fact that your guy, your client, has another felony kidnapping on him. You don't alert anybody. He walks out. He commits this murder. Where I'm going with that is the following. Along with Krasner, this district attorney seems to me has a very serious ethical problem here. And I'm wondering where the state bar, the Pennsylvania State Bar is here, because to me, they should be looking at Krasner's license in the same way they did with Gardner down in St. Louis. They had the same issues with Gardner. She was utterly incompetent. I think Krasner's more competent. The problem is in his competence, what he's looking to do is throw a monkey wrench into the system so it doesn't work. Gardner, I just think, didn't have the wit to make it work. But in any case, ultimately, they had to go to the state level. Fortunately, in Missouri, you had a Republican governor, and they're going to take her license. And ultimately, she had to resign just to save her license. I don't know if she is practicing or she still has her license, or what the story is, but that's how they got her out. That was the leverage that they had. And I got to ask whether they can do it or not. And I don't know the Pennsylvania laws. This stuff gets very arcane. But has anybody at the state level, whether it's Shapiro, the attorney general, anybody, said, we're losing this city. This guy doesn't do his job. He's got all these ethical violations. You got one of his DAs who covered for the fact that this guy had a felony warrant on him for kidnapping and lets him walk out, and then he kills this young woman. To me, these people, they're almost co-conspirators. Is anybody talking this way?
Pat Dugan is. That's what I've been saying, that Larry Krasner is a co-conspirator in the death of Kata Scott, in the death of Gladys Coriano, in the death of our SWAT officer, Jimmy O'Connor, because the same thing. The man who shot and killed SWAT officer Jimmy O'Connor a few years ago was a violent felon that Krasner had on a serious parole violation, but he withdrew the charges. He trains his DAs to not pursue parole violations against defendants. It is ludicrous. So, no, I am saying Larry Krasner is a co-conspirator. In fact, the University of Pennsylvania and their law school. Now, are they left or are they right? They lean a little left, in my
Oh, they're,
opinion.
they're left to Karl Marx, of course. Yeah.
So they had two professors who did a research paper in 2024, and they did a study about Larry Krasner's policies and the effect it has on violent crimes in the city of Philadelphia. And their conclusion by professors Robinson and Seaman, their conclusion was Larry Krasner is responsible for an additional 75 murders a year.
Unbelievable.
He's been
Unbelievable.
he's on his 8th year. So if you go 8 years, that's 600 extra murders. And I can give you other names of people that to me it's obvious.
Yeah.
And it's just it's insanity. He is the deadliest DA in the history of the United States on his insane policies, his lack of empathy for victims. And oh, by the way, I just don't get this. Why he gets support in the African American community in the city of Philadelphia. 85% of our victims are people of
Of
black and
course.
brown
Who gets
complexions.
shot? Young
So,
black men shoot each
yes,
other,
eh,
period. And we're willing
yes,
to just look the other way and say, you know what, they're expendable because it makes me feel good about myself in a cocktail party. No, these are Americans, man. These are people that can
yes.
contribute to the cause. I don't get it either. Go ahead, I cut you off.
No, that's I just and I go into the communities. I go everywhere I possibly can. I go into churches. I talk to people. Frankly, sometimes it's hard to compete because during election year, you know what Krasner does? He takes these micro grants. He gets millions and millions of dollars to parse out to community groups. During election year, this year, $3.2 million he gives out in grants.
Yeah, he's going to spread
Wait,
that
wait.
money around.
You know what he did last year? Like 250,000. So on the off years, he gives a little bit of money out. Election year, he's done it for the last 2 cycles. He throws millions of dollars out there.
Yeah.
It's crazy that
That
we
dark
give him
money,
that power to do it.
that dark money ecosystem, because ultimately it comes back to the usual. If you dig down deep enough, it comes from Soros, the Rockefeller Foundation, the Ford Foundation, Royce Singham, all of these people who just really are at the very least cultural Marxists, if not outright Marxists, who are very, very anti law enforcement. And at the end of the day, it really always devolves to power. It just comes down to this is a lever to control people, to get them to the future that they want. Now, I got to ask you, because you and I are very, very much on the same page. And by the way, you're a Democrat, right? You ran in the primary.
Oh, yes. And Paul, I did want to clear that up for everybody. I call myself a unicorn. I'm still a registered Democrat.
Right.
The Republicans wrote me, I lost the primary. The Republicans wrote me in on their own. I got 7,000 votes, and there was no reason for anybody to come out, but 7,000 of them came out, wrote me in. So, yes, I'm the Republican nominee with 53,000 votes from the Dems. So I'm endorsed by some Democrats. The Republicans are full throated behind me. And Andrew Yang, the Forward Party, has endorsed me because they feel that I'm the guy who's doing common sense. I believe in restorative rehabilitative justice. I did it in Veterans Court. I had a nationally acclaimed Veterans Court program. Recidivism rate, Paul, less than 10%.
It's a good idea. I never heard that. A veterans court. Yeah.
And it works. Judge Russell from Erie County up in Buffalo was the guru of this, had a fantastic program. And, I followed in what he did. So I believe in that kind of justice. But damn it, you're going to ride around my city and you're going to carjack people. You're going to shoot up block parties. Paul, last week, my grandson is at a soccer practice in the heart of Philly, and a clown starts to shoot up the corner, 37 bullets. My grandson and his 40 kids out practicing all hit the ground with bullets whizzing over his head. Those people I want to send to jail, and I don't even want to compromise any kind of deal. but I do believe in restorative rehabilitative justice to get people on the right path. I can walk and chew gum at the same time. I don't care about the politics on the left or the politics on the right. I believe I am a Philadelphian. I'm running for Philadelphia. No politics involved. And that's truly who I am.
So then I got to get to this. You've talked about Yang, you got some Dems, you got the Republicans. I assume from what you're telling me, you got the unions, the transit workers unions from SEPTA,
Yes.
because they've had probably the EMTs. Where are the cops come out in all of this?
The FOP has endorsed me.
All right, so you got that as well. So you got the big unions here. This is no joke. I mean, it's not like it was, but in back in the day, because all the cops lived in the city. A lot of the cops now they commute, at least in New York. I assume it's the same down there. But bottom line is, you start to get these big municipal unions behind you. You know, you got their families voting with that as well, and that is a pretty significant voting block. Do you have any sense? And we're almost out of time, but I got to get this. Do you have any sense of where you stand in the polls? What kind of a shot you got? Are people waking up here? Do you have the money to get your message out? Let's speak in terms of right now about the campaign viability and your chances on election day.
So we don't have the money to get the message out. We
Right.
really don't. Been pretty, um, you know, I'm upset. I don't want to say upset, disappointed that the money didn't come in, but we're still working day to day, a guerrilla campaign, banging on doors. You heard all the support that I have. Philadelphia is still a very tough nut to crack in terms of getting rid of a two-term incumbent,
Hmm.
particularly even with his policies, because there is an entrenched base that will vote for him no matter what he
Yeah,
does.
you're up against the machine.
Yes,
Same thing
and
here. Yeah.
so, all we could do is continue to push. Anybody out there, I have a website. It's Judge Dugan for DA. Any couple dollars will help. Anybody out there who can vote in the city of Philadelphia, or if you know somebody who still lives in Philly, yes, reach out to them and say, get rid of this Krasner guy. This Dugan, this paratrooper, sounds like a guy who can really help save the city and make it a lot safer. So, yeah, I'm asking for people, particularly in the Philadelphia area, to step up and help us because we can beat this guy. We really can.
It's so similar to New York. It's amazing how the blue cities all mirror each other. We are up against a firmly entrenched Democratic machine, which is only interested in its own survival. Here in New York, it's only trending further left with things like Zohran Mamdani and the Democratic Socialists. And that's the machine. And the Republicans here have a little bit thrown in the towel. We have a DA that's running against Alvin Bragg, Maud Marin, and similarly, she doesn't get a lot of money. She doesn't get a lot of support. I'm going to interview her as well because, as I said, I got to do my part. If I'm going to complain about the state of the city and the state of DAs, then it behooves me. I have to have any kind of integrity. Interview people like yourself who are at least offering an alternative and to hear them out, folks. It's say the name of the website again. Go ahead.
Judge Dugan for DA.
Judge Dugan for DA. You can find it online if you want to support him. If you're a Philadelphian, this is a no-brainer, man. If you own your apartment or your house in Philadelphia, I don't see how you can stay on board with where this is going. Last question, I'll let you take us out. How long are you in this for? Because let's say you don't win come election day this year, but it feels to me like things are changing. People are waking up. And if you can get any media behind you and continue to get your name out there and maybe wake up the Republican Party, because that's the same thing here. They went to sleep. I feel like somebody like you is the future. Now, look, we're all running out of runway. None of us are getting younger, but you're not an old man. How sort of committed to that office are you and to Philadelphia?
Oh, I'm committed. I've been a lifelong Philadelphian. I'm not going away. Win, lose, or draw November 4th. I'm going to continue to make noise about Larry Krasner. Larry Krasner's not a socialist or a communist. He's a damn anarchist. And I'm going to call for continued change. I'm going to be a thorn in his side until he's out of that office. I will always be here for what's best for Philadelphia.
Well, that's good to hear. And like I said, I think some of this, even if he wins and he is in that office, you got to get people above his level looking at this guy because the guy just won't do his job. But there's a lot of runway left here in terms of this election
Yes.
and what's going to happen. So let's not throw in the towel. People have a
Oh,
habit of
yeah.
surprising you. And you know what? I feel some momentum. Judge, we appreciate you being here. We wish you Godspeed. We're gonna, I'm sure, be talking about your race on election night on Fox. So we'll be double tapping that then, and we hope you come back and see us again soon. Best of luck to you.
Sure will. And thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
And by the way, the Eagles beat the Giants yesterday, and I got very mixed feelings about that
Go Birds.
because I'm a
Die
Jets
hard Eagle.
fan, but I can't stand losing to Philadelphia, but we always do. All right, Judge, listen, you take
Take
care.
care.
Best of luck to you now.
Thank you.